Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21+. Terms and conditions apply.
Last time, the Army said they recovered a flying disc. Then they said, LOL, JK, it's just a weather balloon. And that was supposed to be that. A strange object crashes in New Mexico desert. A rancher finds it. An Army intelligence officer collects the debris. A press release confirms it's a UFO. Then, less than 24 hours later, the whole story changes. Officially, it was a weather balloon all along. Misunderstanding. Case closed. But the timeline didn't make sense, and the people closest to the wreckage weren't buying it, especially Jesse Marcel. Major Jesse Marcel played the part, held the fake debris up for the press to take pictures of, told reporters it was all a mix-up, but quietly, he didn't believe a word of it. And as the years went by, the unease never left him. What he saw on that ranch didn't act like balloon material. It didn't tear. It didn't burn. And some of it had markings he couldn't explain, like symbols or writing, but nothing he recognized. He didn't know what it was, but he was pretty sure it wasn't from here being Earth. And the more he kept that to himself, the harder it got to stay quiet. After the Army reversed its story, things got quiet, suspiciously quiet. Mac Brazel, the rancher who found the wreckage to begin with, was suddenly off the radar. According to some accounts, he was taken in for questioning at the base, and he wasn't seen for several days. When he did reappear, his story had changed drastically. Now he was saying the debris was nothing special, that he'd found weather balloons before, and this wasn't that different. He even told reporters he regretted mentioning it at all. Not exactly the guy who'd just been the first civilian to stumble across a UFO, if that's what it was. Major Jesse Marcel, the Army intelligence officer who picked up the wreckage, went quiet too. Publicly, he played along. He stood in a room with the general and pointed at tinfoil and sticks that were definitely not what he saw in the field. The military took full control of the narrative. They staged photos, sent out new press release statements, told reporters the case was closed. Most of the national media backed off, and the public moved on. But locally, people didn't forget. Folks in Roswell had seen the headlines. They watched them vanish overnight. They knew what Mac Brazel had said before the military got involved. And they knew Marcel had looked more uncomfortable than convinced when the cameras were rolling. The official story might have changed, but the strange part, no one seemed all that eager to believe it. Years went by, decades, actually, and Jesse Marcel stayed quiet. Until he didn't. In the late 1970s, he started talking, first to researchers, then to reporters. By the time he did his first TV interview, he wasn't hinting. He was saying it outright, with his full chest. What crashed near Roswell in 1947? Not a balloon, not anything human, as far as he could tell. He described the debris again, the impossibly thin metal that didn't crumple, the sticks that wouldn't burn, the strange symbols on fragments like hieroglyphics, but not from any language he'd ever seen. He said he was told to keep quiet back then, to smile for the camera and help clean up the narrative. But he never forgot what he saw. And he didn't buy the weather balloon story, not for a second. Then his family found something else, a journal. It was written during the same time as the crash investigation, but it wasn't just a diary. Parts of it were in code, private notes scribbled out in symbols that only Jesse Marcel seemed to understand. Nobody's fully cracked it, not even all these years later. The writing jumps between normal and encrypted like he was protecting something or someone. Whatever was in that field outside of Roswell left an impression on him, not just as a military officer, as a human being. And when someone who knows how to lie for a living starts telling the truth that late in life, you pay attention. In 1994, almost 50 years after the crash, the U.S. Air Force put out a new report. This time they said the Roswell wreckage wasn't a balloon, exactly. It was part of Project Mogul, a classified program that used high-altitude balloons to detect Soviet nuclear tests. So yeah, not aliens, but still secret. They claimed the usual materials were radar reflectors, stuff made of foil, balsa wood, and tape. And the symbols Marcel saw? Decorative markings on the tape. Flowers, like something from a toy store. According to the report, the original cover-up wasn't about UFOs. It was just about hiding a surveillance project from the Russians. And maybe that would have made sense if they'd said it back then. But they didn't. They said flying disc, then weather balloon, then nothing for decades. And during all that time, Jesse Marcel wasn't the only one who noticed the gaps. Other people started talking. Local witnesses, former base personnel, people who said there were things that didn't make the papers, like other debris sites, trucks moving in and out overnight, even rumors about small bodies being recovered and quietly flown off base. Were they real? Were they exaggerations? Doesn't matter, because by the time the government tried to clear it up, the contradictions were already too deep, and their story had changed too many times. First it was a disc, then it was a balloon, then it was still a balloon, but a fancier one with a top-secret excuse attached. All that changing, it didn't kill the mystery. It made it permanent. It made it to where I'm talking about it still right now. You'd think that after all this time, people would have moved on. One weird summer back in 1947, one ranch, one pile of foil and sticks should have been a blip, but Roswell stuck because it's not about what crashed. It's about what happened after. The silence, the contradiction, the fact that the story changed again and again and never seemed to land clearly. Even the official, air quotes on official, explanation, Project Mogul, came up missing with details and redacted files, and that explanation didn't show up until almost 5 decades later. By then, the damage was done. People weren't just curious anymore, they were skeptical. They didn't know what to believe, not just about Roswell, but about what else might have been buried with it. Marcel's late-in-life confession didn't help the government's case. Neither did the diary no one could decode. Neither did the local rumors that refused to fade. This wasn't a story that got debunked. It was a story that got managed over and over until it stopped making any sense. And that's why it still matters, because when the story keeps changing, the lie becomes louder than the truth. What happened at Roswell? Maybe it really was just the wreckage of a top-secret surveillance balloon. Maybe Jesse Marcel misinterpreted what he saw. Or maybe, like a lot of people still believe, he didn't. But here's the thing. Even if you strip the aliens out of it, the Roswell story still feels like a blueprint, because this wasn't the only time something crashed or flew across restricted airspace and got explained away with a shrug and a, don't worry about it. Look at the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980, sometimes called Britain's Roswell. U.S. military personnel stationed at a UK airbase said they saw strange lights in the trees. Metallic craft, radiation readings. Their own command officer filed a report. The official explanation? Lighthouse beams and wild imagination. Or the 2004 Nimitz encounter, where Navy pilots locked on to an object off the coast of San Diego that didn't behave like anything they'd ever seen. No wings, no visible propulsion. It moved erratically, then took off at impossible speeds. The footage was declassified in 2017, and even the Pentagon admitted, yeah, we don't know what that was. And here's where things get extra weird. For years, the U.S. government downplayed anything remotely connected to UFOs, flat out denied it. But now, they're admitting publicly that unidentified aerial phenomenon, what we used to call UFOs, are real, that these objects exist, that they're in our airspace, and that they don't move like anything made with known human technology. They're not saying they're aliens, but they're not saying they're aliens either. Just that they're unknown, that they're not ours, and that they're happening more often than we'd like to admit. Which brings us back to Roswell, because maybe the most unsettling part isn't whether something crashed there. It's the pattern that followed, the silence, the reshaping of the truth, the way official stories get rewritten over and over until they stop sounding like anything at all. When you look at Roswell through the lens of what we do know now about other cases, other sightings, other military encounters, the idea that something extraordinary might have hit the ground in 1947 doesn't seem quite so outlandish, does it? The real question might not be, did something crash? It might be, how many times has something crashed? And how many times have we just been told it didn't? Thanks for listening to this episode of 10 Minute Mystery. If you liked it, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps other curious minds find the show. And if you want more stories, but with a darker vibe, check out my other podcast, 10 Minute Murder. Still brief and bingeable. See you next time.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21+. Terms and conditions apply.